due to technical issues, I spent the past week catching up on my reading. Today, I'm going to go over the different types of reading, how to better your reading habits, and abilities to retain what you read. Hey, it's CK, and welcome back to 52 Skills in 52 Weeks. This week was reading. I know last week I alluded that I was going to be moving on from Blender and also going on to the new skill. Quick recap on what happened. Crucial X10 Pro decided to just not detect on any of my Macs anymore and also my personal PC. And the only way I was able to get to work and to retain my information is on my wife's laptop. But due to that, I had to pivot to another skill, and we moved on to this skill for this week, and then that other skill will be pushed back another week to this coming week. We live in a world of endless scrolling, endless videos, many YouTube channels, many reels, TikToks, everything. Millions of words that are being said, but we barely retain any of it. But a book stays. It's a mirror, a reflection of the person that took the time to write all these words and give us their story, their adventure, or their message. And reading isn't just a habit, it's a skill. It's a skill that we can master. Reading isn't just about words on a page. It's kind of looking into the mind of the authors that put it together. It's about teaching us the different kinds of lives that there are in each of these books. But that's only if you retain it. If you ever finished a chapter in a book and a week later you couldn't remember most of the information that was given to you, you're not alone. This has been me for a long time, where I couldn't retain the information of my books despite taking notes, despite putting notes in the books, and also just trying to make a summary for myself. It's because I didn't have the correct method. But first, let's go back to the different types of reading there is. This is because we need to understand the basics of what kind of reading we can do. There's 3 types of reading: passive, active, and immersive. Passive reading is reading without intention. The words flow past you, but nothing stays. It's like eating without tasting. This is where we're currently at and we want to get out of. 2, there's active reading. It's engaging with the book. It's questioning, underlying, arguing with the author in the margins. It's where learning truly begins. Even doing this as a default, it helps us able to go back to those notes and then transform them in the future. Finally, there's immersive reading, where the book transforms you, where you and the book kind of are attached at the hip.
We're like brothers, only closer.
This is where you're so into the book, you lose track of time, you want to do nothing but read it, and you're just wanting to see what's at the end of it, and the information you can get for your life. There are very few books in my life that have changed me in that way, but they are inspirational and you go back to reading them every year just for that same feeling and understanding of yourself. For me, that was The Power of Now. This introduced me to meditation and enlightenment, but it also helped me gain a sense of being more in the moment over allowing social media to have me in the past or the future. And as I go through these skills every week, I'm reading different books, and those books are sometimes immersing me in a way that make me want to just keep diving into the book, make me want to keep learning about the skill past it. Same thing happened back at sketching. I was so immersed with Leonardo da Vinci and the different Renaissance artists that it made me sketch less, but I was more intrigued with learning about those figures, those masters. But despite these, how do we get to this point? How do we become more consistent with our reading? And how do we make it so that way we can retain that information and come back to it in the future? If you're already struggling with picking up a book on a more consistent basis, I have 2 options for you. 1, set up a reading schedule. Make it at the beginning of your morning or before you go to bed. By taking reading before bed, your eyes will be less strained and you'll be able to go to bed easier. And also sometimes when you're reading, you just start to fall asleep. That's normal. Your brain isn't engaged with it anymore and it's time to go to bed. Those times when you're scrolling on your phone, you could be using it for reading. Because when you're absorbing the media on the phone, it's just making your mind numb. The other option is using audiobooks. If you live a very active lifestyle, you'll be able to move from place to place while listening to a book. You can take down notes on a notepad, or you can usually save clips in audiobooks to be able to save that point of time and come back to it later. Either way, whether you have a physical book that you're spending time with, or you're using an audiobook, being able to absorb the books is all that matters. Now, a big thing of being able to retain the information that you're reading is by taking notes. I do this even with fiction books. To be able to take notes while you're reading is essential to retaining the information. And when you put it into your own words, you start remembering more of what was said because you summarized it yourself. For example, how to take smart notes. I just finished this in January and was able to mix it in with building a second brain. And with these two notes together, I am learning to create a system, both digitally and physically, that allow me to take notes on a more consistent basis. Now, I'm not using the Zettelkasten system that's mentioned in How to Take Smart Notes. It's kind of a mix of that system with building a second brain's para method. Learning to take notes is essential to remembering. When we write things down, we remember. We create a to-do list. We create a grocery list. We do all those things because we forget. We can only retain, I think it was about 7 bits of information at a time. And it gets overloaded at times because we're so overstimulated these days. Now in physical books, how do I do active reading? Well, with active reading, I will block out certain portions of paragraphs. Then after I blocked out that paragraph, I will highlight the portions or sentences that mattered the most to me. This doesn't have to be a full sentence. It could just be partial sentences or partial words that have meaning to me, that I remember. And this is where the note-taking begins. When you're in the book, you can write in your books. They're your books. Unless it's a library book, then don't do that. If you borrowed the book, you can take notes, copy down the exact sentence or paragraph that mattered to you, and then write down your thoughts underneath it. That way, you're able to take that little section of the book and then put it down for yourself. If you're doing it digitally, you can take a screenshot and then paste the screenshot onto your digital notes app and then type down your thoughts on it as well. And as you're doing this, you change from being active to immersive because you feel like you're engaged with the book. You're having a conversation with it. For example, when I'm learning a skill, I will do these kind of notes and then I will try to apply them immediately. Whenever you're learning anything in a book, you want to try to apply those methods instantly. In your life, if you're trying to take smarter notes, try to do them immediately. If you're trying to get the filmmaking eye, if you don't even have your camera on you, take out your phone and take a look at what's going on. With sketching, if you're just going about your day, if you're bored, just take out a notepad or a piece of paper and try sketching. Sketch whatever you see. Sketch something on your phone that's a picture. By consistently working on what you read or taking notes of what you read or trying to remember what you read, it helps your brain become more stimulated. Next, if you're enjoying a book, that's good. That's fine. You can enjoy any book that you want to enjoy. But if it's not challenging you, you can move on to another book. You can have one book that's enjoyable and easy to read, and then another book that's challenging you. For example, I have this list of books that I'm reading through right now. There's different variations of books that are from fiction, nonfiction, informational, different skills that I'm learning, different methods and mindsets I want to be in, and then also just because my wife wants me to read Fourth Wing. But all these books serve different purposes and have different methods of stimulating me. What I do is something called Tandem Reading. I got this from Odysseus, the YouTuber. It's actually helped me a lot with becoming a more consistent reader as well. You're trying to read all of these books, right? And the way we see a book is we can only read one book at a time. But that's not the reality of it. If you're taking notes consistently, engaging with the book, underlining things, writing down notes in the books, you'll be able to read more consistently across different books because when you open up the book again, you see your notes, you see the things you wrote down and you remember instantly what was happening. It's like having that conversation with a friend that you haven't seen in a long time and remembering everything about them. You're like, hey, last time we talked, this happened. How's that going? These books are me right now, what I'm trying to learn and what I'm trying to do. And what can happen is that at one point, I don't want to read this book anymore. And I could just put it on the side, put a different bookmark in it, and then just save it for later. I can always come back to it. Now, I know I brought up note-taking a lot, and that is another skill that we'll go back to in the future. Right now, I just want to focus on reading, but I will press that taking notes and taking more consistent notes of what you're reading and what you're doing will help you remember things in the long term. Honestly, there's so much going on in this Fourth Wing book that I need to write everything down. I need to write people's names down and what they do or what wing they're a part of because I feel like that's going to matter. And I feel like that even if it doesn't matter, I'll be able to remember the characters more. I'll remember the scenes more and the story more. So in a world that moves fast, books can anchor us back to the world and back to reality. It immerses us and gets us lost in the world around us and just gets immersed into the book. This is how I've been doing the 52 skills in 52 weeks. A lot of the books that I have, the books back here, the books all around my house, they have all helped me become the person who I am. And I feel like I didn't change until I read a book. Sometimes a video can inspire you for a little bit, but a book can stay with you. It can be more consistent, and it can lead you to a better life of who you want to be. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you pick up this skill. Reading is a skill that is pretty essential to our lives, and it can really change a lot for you. I'll be putting some of my book suggestions down in the description below. And like and subscribe if you think that this was helpful in helping you become a better reader. Once again, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot. We just passed 100 subscribers, and I'm really grateful for everyone that has been joining this journey of 52 skills in 52 weeks. It's really validating that this has been a great thing to do, and I've been enjoying it, and I hope you're enjoying it and finding new skill in the process. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week in the next skill that hopefully can become something else, and that might take a little bit longer. But thank you again. Bye.